There are a lot of different travel documents out there, but not all of them are border documents. To be a border document, it's got to allow you to get across a border and come back into the United States. Hi, I'm Sheldon with US Passport Service Guide, and today we're going to break down a number of these documents, and some that'll get you across a border, some that won't, and some that do sometimes. Today I'm putting every one of those documents through this one test. Can you cross a border with it? But real quick, if you like straight talk travel advice, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. This video is a direct result of comments that I read from viewers just like you. Who knows? Your question may lead to the next video. So in this video, I'm going to be covering a lot of different documents. The passport book, the passport card, the enhanced driver's license, programs like FAST, Sentry, NEXUS, Global Entry, and more. Again, our passport card video got a ton of questions and comments about this, so I want to make sure I give you the answers you need as easily and straightforward as I can. And yes, I'm also going to mention programs like TSA PreCheck or the Clear program, but spoiler alert, they're not going to get you across a border, but they can save you serious time when you need to. So while I'll mention them today, be on the lookout for a video in the future where I'll unpack them a little bit further. But before we get started, I want to start with this guy, the passport book. This will get you across most borders in the world. It'll get you out of the United States and back in through customs, and it is one of the best ways you can prove your identity and citizenship as an American. But let's be real, this can be tricky to get. It's one of the most expensive options we're going to go over, and not everybody needs it. Some of the options we're going to go over today serve as suitable replacements for this, depending on where you're traveling and how. First things first, we're going to talk about the Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative, WHTI. It's what governs travel in between places like the United States, Canada, the Caribbean, and a lot of the nations here in the Western Hemisphere. This special arrangement makes some of these documents we're going to talk about possible in the first place. Now, to be clear, WHTI is not something you become a member of. It's not something you acquire. It's not a card. It's not a book. It's the rules. And according to these rules, if you're going to fly internationally, anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, you need a passport book. None of the documents we're going to talk about today are going to be replacements for a passport book when it comes to getting onto an international flight. And to be clear, that goes both ways, flying from or to the United States. However, if you're flying by land or sea, that's where a WHTI compliant document can come in and help you a lot. That said, if you're planning on using sea travel or land travel to cross some of these borders, a WHTI compliant document can help you do that. That means a passport book, a passport card, an enhanced driver's license, or one of the Trusted Traveler Program documents we're going to talk about will allow you to cross the border into the United States from Mexico, Canada, many Caribbean countries, and Bermuda. It also works to go to those locations if you're traveling by land or by sea through certain ports of entry. Now, I can already see and hear the comments coming. There are some exceptions. One of the first exceptions is kids. If you have a minor who is under the age of 16, they are allowed to cross through those same borders, either by land or by sea, with a valid birth certificate. The same is also true for closed-loop cruises. That means a cruise that leaves from the United States and returns to the United States. Now, as long as you're not getting off at a port of entry at one of the destinations along the way that requires a passport, you're good. A birth certificate and a government-issued ID sometimes is all you need. Now, cruise lines have their own policies. Some of them still require passport cards or passport books. Some of them have very specific regulations, mainly because they don't want to deal with the hassle of someone trying to get off at port while they're on one of their excursions and then struggle to get back on because they don't have the right documents to pass through customs. My typical cruise advice is to bring a passport book and a passport card. You leave the passport book on the ship, you bring your passport card with you if you go out on an excursion, and that way, should you get separated from your documents, you have a backup that you can get that will allow you back into the country when the cruise is all done. All right, so let's get into it. Let's take the border test. I'll give you the travel document, and we'll figure out whether or not you can cross a border with it. First up's the passport book. Can you use it to fly internationally? Yes, you can. Can you use it to cross a land border? Yes, you can. Can you use it to cross a sea border? Yes, you can. Can you use it to fly internationally while you're abroad from country to country? Yes, you can. There are no gotchas. There are no hidden rules. This is the best gold standard travel document you can get in the United States. And if you need help getting one, check the link in the description. We'll walk you through your options. You could have one in hand as soon as 48 hours if you can prove you have an urgent travel need. So again, if you have any plan to fly internationally, you're going to want one of these guys. And as an added bonus, it doubles as a real ID that you can use for domestic flights too. Moving on to the passport card. Can you use it to fly internationally? No, you cannot. Not under any circumstances. Whether you're flying internationally from the United States to the United States or between countries while you're abroad, a passport card will not get you on an international flight. A passport card can help you get across a U.S. border with Mexico, Canada, or allow you entry into some places in the Caribbean and to Bermuda. Again, you have to be traveling by land or by sea, and you have to make sure you're traveling through a port that'll accept the passport card. For many travelers, a passport card is a great backup, and if you check out our video on passport cards, it has a lot of extra benefits you may not have even thought of. Another added bonus is it doesn't have your address on it. So if you need to prove your citizenship, but you don't really want to share a lot of extra information, passport card does that trick. So who's the passport card for? Anybody who's traveling to very specific destinations like Mexico, Canada, some Caribbean countries, and Bermuda. Its form factor is also a plus because it's a small card that fits in your wallet. It's about the size of a normal license. So, a little extra bonus and a nice handy ID if you don't really want to lug that book around. And yes, a passport card counts as a real ID that you can use to get on domestic flights, flights that go to and from the United States. If your flight's an international one, a passport card isn't going to help you. That includes if you have an emergency while abroad and you need to get back to the United States. If you drove into Canada and need to fly back to the United States and all you have is a passport card, it's not going to work. You're going to get back in the car, hop on a bus, hop on a train, hop on a boat, but you're not flying back. Next up is a Real ID driver's license, one that's got that little star on it. Real IDs became real popular a couple months ago because they became mandatory for flights. I know, the TSA will ask you some questions if you don't have one, and you might be able to get on your flight for now. But the way things are going and the way things change, you never know. The rules are you need a Real ID to get on a plane. A Real ID driver's license does that. It will not get you across any international border. I'm going to say that again. Just having a Real ID does not mean you can freely cross into any other country or re-enter the United States. It is not a border crossing document. Next up is a really special one. It's the enhanced driver's license. Not every state offers this. It's a special WHTI compliant license that allows you to cross the US-Canada border by car. What you may not know is you can also use it to cross the US-Canadian border by sea. So whether that's by ferry or by private vessel, it works. Unfortunately, if you don't live in Michigan, Minnesota, Vermont, New York, or Washington, you can't get one. Those are the only states that offer it. This is not to say other states may not jump on board soon, but that's the list for now. Just like the passport card though, it's not going to get you on a flight. An enhanced driver's license is land and sea border crossings only. An enhanced driver's license is also Real ID compliant though, so that means you can use it as ID for domestic US flights. Next up is our first document from the Trusted Traveler program, the NEXUS card. Now this was created in conjunction with the United States and Canada to ease border crossings between our two countries. You can use the NEXUS card to fly out of Canadian airports back into the United States as long as you have your pre-clearance documents to go with it. There are dedicated lanes when you're driving between US and Canada that accept the NEXUS card. And if you're a sea traveler, there are expedited reporting options that you can use that make the NEXUS card your travel document of choice. Now the big gotcha here is the NEXUS card is literally only for United States and Canada. If you have an international flight or international travel anywhere else, Western Hemisphere or otherwise, the NEXUS card isn't going to help you. But by all means, if you're a frequent traveler to Canada, the NEXUS card's a great option. Not to be outdone, there's also a very specific Trusted Traveler card for travel between Mexico and the United States as well. It's called the Sentry card. The Sentry card will allow you to drive to and from Mexico across the US-Mexico border in specified express lanes. Now, it cannot be used for flights to or from Mexico or really anywhere else. So if you're considering the Sentry card, remember it is a land-only border crossing document and it only works for the United States and Mexico. If you decide to drive farther into Central America, you're going to need a passport book for that. If you're planning on hopping on a flight, you're going to need a passport book for that. It doesn't even work at seaports of entry. So this is really just for people who routinely or anticipate having a desire to drive across the US-Mexico border enough that they want to apply for the program and get the card. Now these next two are very specific, and they're for very specific use cases and very specific people in very specific professions. The FAST program allows you to cross U.S. land borders if you are a commercial truck driver. There are dedicated lanes that if you are a FAST card holder, you can take your commercial vehicle through and process through that border checkpoint a lot faster than getting in line with everybody else. Now, you can't use your FAST documentation on your days off. You can't use it for leisure travel. It is only for commercial land travel. So you would think there would be a similar thing for maritime workers, people who go through seaports of entry on a regular basis. Well, there's the TWIC program, which is an ID credential. It's got biometric information on it. It can be used as a real ID and in a couple other functions, but it cannot be used for any international border crossings. I've seen a lot of questions and comments about this one. So just remember, TWIC is not going to be used as a border crossing document. However, it can be an ID document that's used at any checkpoint, domestically or internationally, just to prove who you are. And this last one is the most confusing because it's two different programs with the exact same name. It's Global Entry. So the Global Entry membership is not to be confused with the Global Entry card, which is totally different. The Global Entry card has some weird, unique limitations on it. For one, you can't use it to go through those NEXUS or Sentry lanes if you're trying to drive to Canada or to Mexico. However, you can use NEXUS and Sentry lanes to come back into the United States with a Global Entry card. You cannot use a Global Entry card at a Global Entry kiosk at the airport. It doesn't work. It is only for land and sea travel only. It's super confusing because they're both called Global Entry, but the Global Entry membership and the Global Entry card are not the same. So if you're an international flyer and you just want to speed up the process of getting through the airport when you come home to the United States, you want the Global Entry membership. If you're a driver who likes to go to and from Canada and Mexico, okay, Global Entry will give you access to speedier lanes to do that. It may not be the best option, especially when there are things like NEXUS and Sentry out there already. So two other programs that I've seen mentioned in the comments that I don't want to overlook, but we're not going to dwell on, TSA PreCheck and the CLEAR program. These programs offer expedited processing through lines at the airport, but they are not border documents. They do not offer you any special privileges that allow you on or off international flights or international travel at all, really. You're still technically going through security screening. It's just an expedited option. If you're somebody who travels internationally often, or if you're traveling perhaps with small children, it might be worth it, but there's not a massive benefit there beyond that. It'll save you time, but it's not going to get you across a border by itself. Still going to need a passport or a WHTI compliant document for that. All right, so that was a lot of information, but let's boil this down to a 30-second decision tree. If you have any plans ever to fly internationally, get a passport book. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive, but it lasts for 10 years. You can expedite it and get it as soon as 2 to 3 weeks from now. Or if you can prove you have an urgent travel need, you could have one in hand as soon as in the next 24 hours, either with the help of a passport expediting service or by visiting a regional agency on your own. Whole bunch of details on how to do that are down in the description. We have full guides and vetted passport expediting services we can recommend to you. If driving or cruising is more your speed, a passport card may be enough, especially if you're planning to stay here in the Western Hemisphere. We still recommend having a passport book just in case you have to fly home in an emergency, or if there's a more complicated issue, or, like happened recently, your cruise ship gets redirected to a place that doesn't accept a passport card. But choice is yours. Passport card has a lot of extra benefits. We've gone over them in great detail in this video here. Now, if your international sites are much smaller, meaning you just plan on going back and forth between the US and Canada, if you're fortunate enough to be in a state with an enhanced driver's license, get that. Otherwise, you got the NEXUS program. It's going to be worth it. Just remember, it's still not going to get you on a plane. You need a book for the flights. If you're a frequent driver across the US-Mexico border, Sentry program is for you. It's going to save you time in those lines, not going to have to be stuck behind that bumper-to-bumper traffic as long, and it's honestly a lot cheaper and easier than getting a passport book. But if you need to fly internationally to or from Mexico or anywhere else, still need a book. And then if you just flat out don't like lines at airports, that's what all those other programs are for. TSA PreCheck, Clear Plus, check them out. They may be worth it to you, it may not. Just know that those are not programs that are going to help you get across a border legally. You're going to need one of those WHTI compliant documents, passport book, or a passport card to do that, as long as you're going to destinations that accept them. And remember, everybody takes that guy. So bottom line, if it doesn't get you across the border, it wasn't in today's video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, comments, or things you'd like to see in a future video, drop it down below. Safe travels.